Hi.
Okay.
All right. This is Sue. You're with Get Sold and my lovely assistant, Twyla. We've decided that, we love having a spiritual platform, but there's a lot more to spiritualism than, just, I don't know, what people classically think. And if spiritualism is about love and acceptance, then we want to talk about some things we haven't talked about before. So
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah. I forgot what I was saying before we.
Oh, we were getting into it about the LBG, and I'm sorry, I always mess up the words. Oh, the community that we both very much love and have many, many friends and participate in. So we were talking about spiritualism classically, and then we decided to take a right turn into the realm of gay, straight, trans, all of it. And kind of like my position on it, because I hear a lot of podcasters. I love listening to Blair White,
Mm-hmm.
Candace Owens, I guess I never would have considered myself a conservative because back in my old days of partying and being crazy, that was the last thing I wanted to be considered. Like I didn't start watching the Waltons until like my 50s or something because I was like, ugh. But now I crave normalcy, normalcy. But to me, normal is, as you were saying, like when you attract yourself to a person, it's for their soul. Doesn't matter whether male, female, trans, like you said, plumbing don't matter. It's the heart that sits within the person and the soul. So that's kind of where we left off from the last
Yes.
video.
We were talking about um how often we are able to see through the facades and the BS that is presented in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all oftentimes makes relationships hard for us because we
Yeah.
really see people for who and what they truly are, even when they don't necessarily see who they themselves truly are. And so, an example of this for me would be when I met my husband. Um, they were not at a point in their life when they were ready to acknowledge that they were trapped in the wrong body. And that's really important to understand that the body and the mind and the soul are different things. They're different
Mm-hmm.
parts of a whole. And so you can be male in here
Mm-hmm.
and in here, but have a body of a female.
Yeah. The only thing I want to interject is from a spiritual level, we all have male and female energy. And I think that gets
Yes.
caught in the crossfire as well. Is you
Yes.
can have, like, I have a lot of masculine traits. In fact, one of my dear friends, lesbian friend, would always call me Sean because I just related to a lot more masculine things than feminine. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I know that's getting caught, that's targeted as well. Divine masculine, divine feminine, and the not so divine of both, but we are equally both those. So go ahead.
Yeah. So when I met them, I knew immediately, immediately who they were meant to be and their truth. And it was hard because I knew this, but I couldn't tell them what I knew. I was not allowed to say anything. I was not allowed to point these things out. I had to let them go on their journey and figure this out. And of course, like many things in a relationship, this creates hiccups and bumps and hard times and acting out. But when my partner had come to that conclusion, I was like, yeah, I know. Okay, how can we start this process?
Oh,
Let's go. Um, and it took several years into our marriage before they were ready to go on this journey. And this journey for them is um, only a few years old, I would say. They're very in the beginning stages. And first of all, I want to tell them how proud I am of them
mm-hmm.
and how incredibly blown away and inspired I am by the people that choose to go through this
Yeah,
and
for the
choose
right
to really live
reasons.
their
Yeah.
truth.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that, yeah, I'm just super proud of them, and I think they've done a great job. But I got to see behind that facade, and I was okay with whatever title I had to have at that point,
Yes.
um,
That's what I was going to
for
ask you
them.
about. What was it like in the beginning before, uh, how did the public, like talk to you, or bias, no bias, how did that feel beforehand?
Um, there was some bias, but I was very lucky in the community that I was in that um it was kind of accepted at that point. They had recently made the law where we could get married, and we took full advantage of that. Um, and I was ready for this uphill climb, so to speak. And um, like I said, it was their journey that I had to sit on the sidelines and be a cheerleader for,
Oh,
even when it stunk. I mean, when it was bad, but I was still on the sidelines, like, okay, let's go. You can do it. Yeah. You know, because that was my
wow.
job. That was my job. My job was to love this person unconditionally.
Yes.
Unconditionally.
Yes.
So I was ready for that. And it was a
So,
very interesting
so
process.
you would have been considered beforehand, being gay because
Yep. Yep.
they were she at the time, so everybody was like, okay, cool, that's, whatever. And then now, those who now, you know, nobody knows, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like,
And it was very interesting because for me, outside in public, I have never been able to refer to my partner as wife. That was always just couldn't come out. So I would have to explain to people, oh, my husband, and then my husband would show up and they'd be like, what now? And I'd be like, oh, right. I'm sorry. I forgot. This is my
wow.
husband. That is my wife. And it wasn't to be mean or malicious or seem normal or come off in a specific way. It was just
No.
that was my internal interpretation of who they were, and that's how I treated it. And for me, my husband has and always will be a man. And
Yeah.
now I'm going to tell a story that goes off of this. My
Okay.
husband and I went to the same preschool for 2 days.
Oh my God.
2 days. Okay. Um,
Wow.
I was always very shy. My husband has been always been more outgoing and willing to make new friends. They wanted to share their Lincoln logs with me, and I was like, somebody wants to be my friend. Run away and cry.
That is so cute. Oh my God.
Yeah. So my husband went home with the same reaction of, I asked somebody to be my friend, and they ran away and cried. So they went home crying. And I distinctly remember at that time thinking to myself, and saying to my mom, oh, this boy wanted to play with me and share his Lincoln logs. How dare they? I'm like, I distinctly remember that. And I
Oh
think
my
that kind
God.
of
That's
says a
funny.
lot. And I don't think that anybody should tell anybody else whether or not they should exist.
Yeah, that's what we're working towards, that's for sure. No matter
Yeah.
what's under the trunk or on the skin or whatever. It's funny how they disguise things, as inclusion and this and that. It's like they're forcing and they're beating people over the heads for their agenda. When if you just this is something that bothers me, just going off a little bit, because we'll be all over the place with this, but um I remember when I was managing our apartments, and I remember one year years ago where we had four interracial couples. And I'm like, why are they talking about race? Why are they talking? There are more in our own family. We like everybody. It was like United Colors of Benetton or whatever it's called. I mean, just like everybody in his side of the family, like all walks of life. And especially way back having interracial nieces and nephews and stuff. And it's like, that's the coolest thing. So I get upset when the other side, when the agenda makers on the dark side are telling us that we're racist or that we're biased or that we're the no, naturally, look at a kid, right? When a kid is born, does he care what you are or are not? No, they love unconditionally. That is our true nature. Before
Mm-hmm.
indoctrination, before, you know, past lives come to our attention, we are those unconditional children. We want to be loved, so we just want to love, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so they're beating people over the head with, you know, call me all these different pronouns. I'm this, I'm that. It's like you're still part of the human race. So
Yeah.
stop, just love yourself and you won't be looking for everybody else to like treat you special in a certain way or whatever. Because at the end of the day, we're all unique and special, but we're all part of the same spark, you know?
Yeah. And I understand that my skin tone has allowed me a large amount of privilege that I was not understanding in when I was younger. But
Mm-hmm.
I see today how, and it's always going to be there for me. And there are people that don't have that. And that is really upsetting to me. And I think to a lot of people. So I've kind of tried to adapt this mindset of almost being blind. I have no eyes.
Yep.
How does a blind person perceive race?
Yep.
They don't.
Yep.
They don't.
Yep.
It's not there because it's human. It's just human, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried really hard as I've gotten older to understand that and not see and try to relate to the hardships that others go through. And it it's just astonishing to me to see that we classify humans differently. And not only do we classify them differently, but we gauge their worth on that classification. And that is absolutely unacceptable.
But
Absolutely
I
unacceptable.
still think that's not like the norm. I think that people generally, I remember on my street, and we were like a normal middle class neighborhood, whatever. We had a family move in. I was little, and somebody actually burned a cross on there. They were the first,
Wow.
um, you know, people to come in into the neighborhood of color, and I couldn't understand why. I was just sitting there as a little kid going, why is this happening? But I came from parents who, again, the indoctrination, there were certain words that were used in those days. There were certain ideations. It wasn't until I was with my guy and his family had, you know, the interracial kids that my mother wound up adoring and doing, spending lots of money on. It was like they were reverse uh as they went through time and met more people. It was like they forgot what they were taught about race. So it's like they grew out of it. So by the time they were in their, I don't know, 70s and 80s, there was none of that anymore. None of the same talk I heard growing up as a kid because they were programmed. That generation was programmed from the generation before. But I saw them grow out of it,
Mm-hmm.
as our world changed. And like I said, as I was managing properties and there was more interracial couples and stuff, it became the norm. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
they worked out of it as the world changed. So I went back to, just not even worrying about it, just not even thinking about it anymore, to that natural state of the little kid who's, I just want to love and be loved. That's it, you know?
Yeah.
Don't care about
Yeah.
anything else. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care what you want to look like. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care. Just love me and I'll love you. Can we do that? Can we agree to do that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think we have to love everybody and we can't pick and choose, I guess.
No, I just
I
think
don't know.
we really have to seriously I there's no problems except what the dark agenda is trying to get people to buy into. Literally, that's my piss off point is because I don't even want to say them because I don't want to be like I don't want to do anything that's polarizing. I don't want to like name groups or anything like that because I don't want to polarize anything. All I want to say is be smart enough to read between the lines. If it goes against your heart, who's saying it and why? You know, is that really how you feel? Or is that just like my parents where you heard it, but now you know people and you understand that it's a heart thing and a soul thing, not a generational thing that needs to be repeated. If it was out of ignorance, you know? So, yeah,
Are you okay with if I ask my husband to come on and talk
I
for
would
a minute?
love that. That already came to my mind, but this is new territory for us. So I would love that. Love that.
So he's gonna join us. This is my husband, Phineas Dragonborn. Hi.
Nice.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you show up and thank you so much. We're having an amazing conversation and thank you. This is what we need to talk about. This is what we need to do. So thank you.
Thanks
You
for
are so
having me.
handsome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Isn't he?
This is beautiful. This is awesome.
So
Anything you want to say to the viewers? Anything you want to say out there?
I mean, I just think people should be allowed to exist.
Yes.
And I think people should stop trying so hard to oppose people's existences. Because really, at the end of the day, all I want to do is use the bathroom in peace and have the parts that match what I think they should.
Oh, I love that. I'm
you
getting
want
teary-eyed. Oh my
to,
God.
right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your own journey and experience kind of on this road?
Yeah, so I've been out as trans for 7 years now. I started testosterone 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. And it's going really well, but there are roadblocks at every single turn of it.
Really?
And yeah, and like when a woman gets married, she doesn't have to pay anything to change her name. I did. I had to pay $150. And I gotta pay another $250 to have my birth certificate changed.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of roadblocks in the way, but the people that are there to help me with it are the most phenomenal human beings I've ever met. And
I
Oh,
think that I couldn't imagine kinder, more unconditionally loving people than the people we've met on this journey.
yeah,
Not only like for healthcare wise for you, but also the support systems that have been built
yeah,
and the long distance relationships that you can make with people in the same situation, going through the same things that you're going through. And having it's almost like having a community within a community within a community,
uh,
providing multiple layers of support and
yep,
advice and caring. Yeah, and
yeah.
I think that on this journey you grow. Not only do you physically change, but you emotionally change and you spiritually change.
My perspective on things is what I feel to be a very unique one. I've had most of the problems of womanhood. I don't want them, but I definitely understand them. And I feel like it's a very unique viewpoint on the world, having lived on both sides of the coin.
yes.
But I have a great team of doctors, and they're in Florida. I've never met them. They're dealing with me as a living memorial to my trans mentor who passed right before I started P.
Oh,
And they took me on. They've never met me, and they have provided me with my hormones and they are setting up avenues for surgeries, and they got me all the letters that I needed right away. And they didn't make me wait for anything. They're like, yeah, you know who you are. We're just gonna help you get there. And I really appreciate the people that are working so hard just so that, people like me can get through another day.
What are your feelings on what's happening right now as far as, kind of like the dark agenda pushing kids to identify, like when you're a kid, you explore things in general. You can play with a truck, you can play with a doll, it don't matter. But it
Right.
seems like there's a dark agenda out there that is saying, well, you played with a doll and you're a boy, so you must identify more with a girl. So we're going to get you going on that path. I mean, how do you feel about that, having walked this journey and seeing this stuff?
I was raised Catholic, and I had spent a long time being told that what I was feeling was wrong and that it was against God's plan for me. But if it was truly against God's plan for me, I wouldn't have felt that way in the first place. Like,
Right.
this is obviously a perspective that I need to go forward. But the political landscape right now is mildly terrifying.
Thank you.
There
Yeah.
is anti-LGBTQ legislation in at least 40 states right now, and that's a lot, and it is absolutely terrifying. But I'm also not going to stop trying to be the most authentic form of myself that I can be.
And that is what we talk about, the ripple effect, Twyla and I. When you're being authentic, you are spreading that love and that truth to everyone around you. So it doesn't matter what you show yourself up as in the world, except
Right.
yourself. And that I want to thank you personally for showing up here now to talk about it, because I will be honest with you, since I met Twyla and she told me, the whole situation, I said I would love to have a beautiful conversation about it because it's all over the place. Like I was telling Twyla, I listened to Blair White. I like Blair White is trans, but she's very conservative and she's all up in arms about all this crazy stuff. And I've been dealing with my friends as gay friends since the 80s. I'm like, grandma, I'm like,
Right.
we go way back. And I have a very, very dear friend now who is going through transitioning. And also when I wrestled, there was one of the girls I wrestled with who had transitioned a while ago. So I hear the stories and I hear the truth and the beauty of the hardship, and then I see the craziness going on in the news. Not the mainstream. I don't really watch that, but just like podcasters and stuff where these men are going, supposedly transitioning as women, and they're making a mockery of women. And then you've got the kids where they're doing drag shows in front of, 5-year-old children, 3-year-old children. I don't know if that's the exception right now and that they're showing us that so that we don't go that direction, like, corrupting the kids or whatever, letting them be. Just like you had a chance to be who you were, and my friend who's transitioning, who would wear dresses at 18. And I was telling Twyla, like, I wish I had just a bit of that confidence, just a thumb's worth of that confidence to get through my life. So I'm happy as heck that, she's finally doing this, but it's been a long, hard road. And I don't know if she's had all the support or whatever. Certainly worked her butt off to, probably get the hormones and all that stuff. But, I don't know. It just seems the world is turned upside down and it's almost working maybe against you, um, in a way, like you're saying, all the different laws and stuff that are, they're pushing back at each other, not realizing that we're all human and that
Right.
this isn't a game. This is
Right.
like you said, being your authentic self is like becoming a ping pong game or something.
Right. And it's my basic rights are on the table every single day,
Wow.
and it's terrifying. And it's awful for women, it is awful for people of color, it is awful for anybody who's different. It's not just us, and it's got to stop.
I
Like,
think,
we're
yeah.
just trying to exist.
If
Everybody
you
is just trying to exist.
Yes, yes. I literally think if people wake up and understand that there has been documentation on the books for years since, I don't want to go into it, but like the Nazi days and so
Hmm.
forth, where they've written books about how to keep people divided. You
Right,
divide people, you can conquer them, you control them, you get, whatever it is you're shooting for. Just keep the people divided and fighting amongst themselves. And
right.
to me,
Because if
that's
they're
what I
fighting
see
with each other, they
happening.
can't fight you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right,
Yeah.
right.
I think too, a lot of it is, I don't know, for me at least, I feel like you probably feel this too, but don't let me speak for you,
Mm.
is that we've taken 2 steps forward to take 10 steps back. And the LGBTQ community, this is not new. This goes to, it's prevalent in ancient Egypt, in Mayan times,
Yep,
in prevalent Native American history. It's
yep.
prevalent in other countries' histories. This is not something new. It's just something that they're trying to control and
Yeah.
create rifts and create avenues of hate and anger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really mostly to control us and to make us fight amongst ourselves, so we can't even really see the other issues that are maybe even more or just as prevalent as this. And
Yeah.
that's really terrifying, that we now feel that, we have to be scared to go outside of our home. We have to be scared to be who we are. I have to be scared to walk down the street. Do I question who I tell that we're together? Like, that's terrifying, and that no one should be living in fear of
No,
existence.
no.
And, but I do want to say, and I don't know if you would agree with this either, but stop me if I'm wrong. um,
Nope.
that in regard to the spiritual community and the witchy community that I've been prevalent in or had access to,
Mm-hmm.
the support has been overwhelming. And I do want to give a shout out to a good friend. Her name is Mello. She makes a hair oil, a natural hair oil. And wow, if anybody in the trans community is having trouble growing a beard, dude, let me know. I will get you some of this oil. It is all natural. It will not affect your medications, and it will
Oh,
help you feel more confident in you and feel like you are passing as your authentic true self.
man,
Oh, yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah.
It's a great product. I
I'm
stopped
just
using
getting
Rogaine.
goosebumps. This
Yeah.
is beautiful. So how can we support you if we were to, from Get Sold, ask people to write comments? How can we support you?
So good people who stand by and do nothing are not good people. If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
Like, we can't fight for ourselves all the time. It's not always safe. But if people from outside of the community start standing up for us,
Yeah.
we might have a chance. And like,
Beautiful.
it's really just us and the allies right now fighting against all of this. And if people just stop and take a second and stop harassment when they can, and educate when they can, because a lot of this is just bad education.
You're right. You're so
And
right. Yeah. Yep.
assumptions based on something that someone told you, and they might not know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So, I would say do your research and stand up for us when you can, because it does matter.
Yep. Yep. That's beautiful. I'm really honored that you decided to come on, and I really have wanted to talk about this for a while from a loving standpoint, not to, add more shade or polarity to anything, but just an honest story of you, like you said, being your authentic self, both of you being your authentic self. That's exactly what we all need to be doing right now, whether we're spiritual or whether we're not. It's like that's the ascension process right there.
Right.
Everything I've ever read about the ascension process, it's always getting back to self and who you are and how your package don't matter. But you just said it right there. That's literally the epitome of ascension, being your authentic self.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Oh, you guys are so precious. Let's see, what do we got? We're about 7 minutes out. So anything else that you want to add? Anything? Thank you so much for coming on, because I know some people are like
For
really shy
having
and
me.
they're like, eh. But this does need to be talked about, and I'm hoping this is a forum in which to do that, where it comes across safe, loving, supportive, encouraging, and whatever it is you need for this forum to do, and as we attract new people, to create a new community where we can support both of you, you know? So,
I think, education on it, proper education is crucially important. You don't go on this journey without educating yourself first. And I really think that, the people that are not directly in the community should really start reading and sticking up for people when they see something. It's,
yeah,
it's a very difficult fight, and we are not anywhere close to being over with it.
yeah.
I
So the
do want
people,
to,
go
oh,
ahead.
sorry.
No, 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 go
I
ahead,
do
go
want
ahead.
to ask, because you are an empath and you do feel energy that comes at you. Um, Living life as a trans man, how do you discern energy that is specifically hateful towards you and discerning safe energy? If you could tell another empath in your position how to find safer avenues with safer people, how would you describe that?
So the it's less of an energy read and more of a, they are usually in the community or they are usually already an ally, and it
Yep.
just makes things easier that way to tell, because most people in the community and most allies are safe, most, not all.
Yeah.
But talking just in general to people, it takes a little while to figure out where they stand and to see if it's okay to even think about telling them. Because you could end up dead or worse for telling the wrong person. And it's, you have to, you learn to read people in a different way. You learn to read malicious intent in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's just part of being alive in the community, unfortunately. That's, you have to be able to know where you're safe. Like, I don't go south of the Mason Dixon ever, because I consider that entire area unsafe for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Uh,
grew up in Florida, and I don't go back there.
wow. Like,
Yeah.
how would they? I mean, I guess in my naivety, this is me by being naive, is I would look at you and I would just say, I wouldn't even have an opinion like, oh, he's transitioned or anything like that. Like, how do they seem to sense that? Or how do they?
They have classes and books on how to identify people like me.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's
so
where I
like,
feel naive.
if I go to a public restroom, I go right for the stall. They look for that.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you have to be very careful. You have to be on guard all the time.
Well, that can't be good for your adrenals and your, the fight or flight response, the cortisol, oh my God.
It's exhausting, but it's also just another thing we have to deal with.
I would
You
really
know?
love it if we planned to do a whole, you know, show on this, because for me, like, I'm love everybody. I have my own stories of, being bi and all this other stuff, but it's like, I think if we dispel some of the questions people ask, like some people legitimately have questions that they're just curious about and they're not meaning it in a like derogatory way. It's like people like children, you're curious. You just wonder what makes things tick. And I
Right.
wonder if we did a session like that where you could just answer questions either for people, or we can put that out there if anybody wants to throw some
Yeah.
questions out. We can follow up with another video with the two. And
I'm a large fan of helping to educate, because it's honestly the best thing I can do for myself is just educate other people out there so
yes,
that they can maybe educate somebody else.
absolutely. And take the mystique out of the bad stuff. In other words,
Right.
like if you strip away all the things that might make people afraid, then what do they have to be afraid of anymore?
Right.
You know, it's like you're putting it out there, but in a very respectful, honest,
Right.
truthful way. And the more authentic you said, I can't help but just really get goosebumps off of that, because I myself have not been authentic in my own life because of, abuse and things like that. I was never able to be who I thought I was supposed to be. So I understand that, and how important it is for all of us to get to that authentic place, whatever the reason is why you feel like you can't be. So
Right.
if, I would love to have you on again and just dedicate a whole, two, we go out about 40 minutes, but, we could certainly do a series on this if you feel comfortable. And we'll see if there's any folks out there that want to ask questions or give us some feedback. That would be amazing. I would love
Of
that.
course. Of
I
course.
would
If
be
your viewers
honored
have any
to
questions,
do.
I'd be happy to answer them as long as they are respectful.
Yeah, well, I can weed that out too. I'm not having it. No. Mm-mm.
Thank you. I
We don't
appreciate it.
project any kind of bias towards people. I don't want it coming back this way. I mean, I know I have been very lucky so far that all of our videos have been received well. Even Soul 2K, who's a child, 8 years old, I'm very lucky that we've gotten a lot of support. So I believe that the universe will be supportive of that, and I think that, maybe I will get that one comment or something, but so far, I mean, again, wait till we get 1,000 or more viewers, we'll see what happens. But I feel like it's all good, but I certainly wouldn't entertain any nasty stuff, and I can control that on my end. So with that, we'll close off on this. And I'm just so grateful for you both. I really am, because I've been trying to find a way to bring this to Get Sold, but I really didn't know how. And I really didn't want to just ask you, Twyla, hey, what do you think? But it kind of naturally fell into place. So I would be honored if you would join us again and we can figure that out. But so everybody out there, please give them your support, and let's try to learn about this from a very educated place, and just love everyone, just love yourself and love those who are being authentic. To me, that's my inspiration. You are my inspiration by being authentic, because I know there's still some things I got to clean up in me so that I can really be my most authentic self. I've still got a few fears and a few, bugs I'm working out. So you are an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So we'll close off with that for now. And I am honored and grateful. Thank you so very much.
Thank
And we'll talk to
you.
you very soon. Thank you. Love you both.
Love you.
Okay. We'll end here. Bye for now.